Hey guys, Roxxy Sims here, and I have another speed build for you today. Today I am building a witch's cottage. I'm not going to say this witch is evil or anything, but definitely not all good either. I'm going to say she's definitely dabbled in some dark stuff. So a little bit of it is a bit creepy, a bit dark, and all of that. But you know, nothing too bad. She's definitely not one of those kind-hearted, wholesome witches either, though. You know, I figure she's somewhere in between. And, of course, I am building this in the magical world of Glimmerbrook. And I have one complaint about Glimmerbrook. Of course, it's, you know, the world that came with Realm of Magic. So I want to put all my, like, witches and things in this neighborhood. The problem is that I really wanted to build a witch living in a swamp, you know, really like a witch's hut, and it's kind of tilted and falling over, and of course surrounded by swampland. But every lot in this world is pretty, like, it's manicured, there's a driveway to it, and a swamp type witch hut, it just doesn't go in this world very well. So I think I still want to build that, but I have to build it somewhere else. For Glimmerbrook, I decided to go with something, you know, less rustic than a swamp witch hut. So here we go, a witch's cottage, which is perfect for the more suburban witch in your life. So, you know, a cottage. I thought I had to go with a cottage because, you know, I think it just fits this world. Very like storybook cottage kind of feel, and this is the kind of style that I use for my Glimmerbrook cafe as well, so I thought I would stick with this type of build for pretty much the whole neighborhood. A Tudor style is obviously perfect for when you're trying to go for a storybook kind of feel, so had to go that way, and I think it kind of works with these windows that came with this pack. The windows are just fantastic. The like purple stained glass one that I use in this build, I'm obsessed. I love it so much. So that's kind of the color scheme that I go with throughout. Most of this is I go for a little bit of a purple, a little bit of blue, you know, some kind of maroon type colors, and then the landscaping, I go for pretty much that light purple to go with the windows. And I don't get to use that color very much, so I had a blast using it in this build. And of course, I think it's the perfect build for a kind of whimsical witch, but also a little bit of a dark side. So that's definitely the feeling that I was going for. I definitely wanted this cottage to feel a bit old. So it you know, I figure it's a pretty old cottage, and so it does have a lot of that kind of ornate wallpaper that they used to use all the time. I'm adding it right here, and they are the ones that came with the vampire pack, which I love those wallpapers. I don't get to use them that much because I've actually never done a vampire build at all. I've done like zombies and witches and things before, but never a vampire one, and I don't know why. I need to get on that, but I took the opportunity as soon as I knew I was going to go for kind of a creepier type of witch. I thought these wallpapers would work for sure. So, because from afar, they look kind of, you know, kind of florally and pretty. But then when you look close, there's like bats all over them. I just love them. I think they're really fun. So I'm excited to get to use them in this. And, you know, as you can see, I kind of wanted it to feel like she has a bunch of mismatched furniture and decorations and all that, so I'm using all like different chairs around this table. I can't wait later for you to see the decorations that I put on the table. I had a lot of fun putting just little weird things throughout this build. Like on that table, you'll see I put this, I don't know if you remember it, but in that pack there comes like a crystal. I think it's listed under lights. It looks like a little crystal and it's floating and stuff, so I put a little floating crystal on there, and yeah, I just had a lot of fun. I used these, you know, you see this rug, it's like not really a rug, it's like chalk on the floor, so I used this one here, and then upstairs I use a different chalk, you know, quote unquote rug, and I love them both. It looks just creepy enough, you know, to where she's like drawn on the floor with chalk or whatever. It's just a little weird. So that's just kind of like what I wanted to do for the whole place, is just put little weird things throughout. And guys, there are skulls everywhere. Anything that had a skull on it, I used it. Guaranteed. And I used even some skulls multiple times. So I should have kind of like I should go through and like count them all and have like a scavenger hunt on how many skulls you can find in this build. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but it's quite a few. I tried to put them just everywhere that I could. And I kind of drew from my teenage years. I was a little goth-ish, punk-ish, and I loved skulls. I love skulls. They're cool. And so I'd have them all over my clothes. You know, I had shirts and belts and shoes and everything. So I took inspiration from that and just filled this place with all of the skulls. That's pretty dark, right? But, you know, I wanted this place to be sufficiently creepy. So, you know, what better way? Well, now that we talked a little bit about the design of this place, I think it's time for some life update time. So before I start updating you on my life, I want to ask, how are you guys doing with all of this quarantine craziness? And I haven't really got to talk to a lot of you about that and ask you how you've been. So by all means, comment down below and, you know, let me know. You know, I don't know how it is where you are, but it's definitely been crazy here. And I know they're already talking about, you know, opening things back up in a lot of places. So it's just, like I said, a lot of craziness going on. And if you listen, like, to my last video, if you listen to the voiceover on that, I'll let you guys know it's a big bummer, but my husband got laid off from his job, and in the same week my stove broke, or my oven broke, and my fridge broke. So yeah, financial craziness, right? And so that has been fun dealing with. But hey, my new fridge is here, so I have a functional fridge. Boy, you definitely like take that stuff for granted when you don't have it, you know? And so the thing that was wrong with my fridge was that it's not that it was too warm, it was way too cold. It was freezing everything in the fridge. So I would set it to the highest temperature that it would go, which I think was like 46 degrees, something like that. But then it would never get above like 26 degrees, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it was just freezing everything. My milk was just rock solid, frozen. Everything was. And if you've ever tried to put like bags of salad or lettuce or anything in a fridge that's 28 degrees, man, that stuff does not do well. There are certain things that can be frozen perfectly fine, like, you know, cheese and stuff like that. Totally fine. Butter, great, no problem. But lettuce does not survive well being frozen. It just turns to mush. So everything was turning, every like fresh produce was bad. And so that was craziness. I'm so happy to have a fridge that doesn't freeze everything. Oh, it is so nice. So I'm still waiting on my oven. Because the problem with my oven was that it was kind of the same thing. It was just too cold. Whereas the fridge was supposed to be cold, but it got too cold. Well, the oven is supposed to be hot, and it wouldn't get hot enough. So, because I'll tell you the story of how I figured out that my oven was not working. So, I spent like all day making homemade pizza dough and homemade pizza sauce. And I made this nice homemade pizza, and I stick it in the oven. Set the oven to like 450, 500 degrees, something like that, because you know you gotta cook pizza really hot. So I stick it in the oven, and about 15 minutes later is about when it's supposed to be done, and it is just like completely raw still. Some of the cheese maybe got a little melted, and I have a thermometer hanging in there, and I looked at it and it was like 100 degrees in there, which means it did warm up slightly, but 100 degrees, that's like sticking a pizza outside in a hot summer day and just waiting for it to cook. Doesn't work too well. Not well at all. So just wasn't getting anywhere near hot enough to cook anything. Good thing is we ended up cooking the pizza on the grill, so still had pizza. It wasn't a total loss, but that's such a bummer. I cook things in the oven all the time. I love roasted vegetables and things, and so I've been missing my roasted vegetables because I ordered that stove. The stove broke first, and we're still waiting on it. We still have another week to go before the stove gets here. Everything's been delayed, all the shipping and everything. So in about a week, hopefully, I'll have a new oven, and I cannot wait. The very first thing that I want to bake when it gets here is homemade cinnamon rolls. I am a huge cinnamon roll fan. I'm very picky about the cinnamon rolls. I only really like a few places cinnamon rolls, but when they're good, they are so good. And I was actually planning on baking those like the day after I made that pizza. Healthy, I know, but but that was my plan, and so it was so sad. I could not make the cinnamon rolls. So I've been relying on my crock pot. Thank goodness for crock pots. And I've been relying on, I have a bread maker, so I've been making bread in that. Thankfully it's, it cooks it in there. So other than that, we've gotten a couple of takeout meals, but yeah, we're doing okay. We've got some microwave food, making it work. So the first thing I'm making, cinnamon rolls. And then the second thing that I'm making in my oven is, I'm going to make roasted broccoli. Oh, my favorite vegetable thing in the whole world. I love broccoli and green beans roasted in the oven so much. So it's funny. I'm going from both ends of the spectrum. The most unhealthy thing, cinnamon rolls, and then broccoli. So I can't wait. I can't wait for roasted broccoli. Broccoli is something also that my whole family can agree on. They say that kids hate broccoli, and so my son loves broccoli, and my husband loves broccoli, and he is admittedly not very much of a vegetable lover. So, we got a thing for broccoli, and I'm curious as to what your guys' favorite vegetable is, because people look at me like I'm weird that it's broccoli. I'm like, what? Broccoli's amazing. And like I said, green beans. I pretty much like any vegetable though. Seriously, if you put garlic on it and you roast it in the oven, it's gotta be good. That's just how I feel. And now that I've been talking about food for 5 whole minutes, I guess we can move on. I mean, when you don't have an oven for a few weeks, you think about food way too much. So excuse the food talk, but I guess we can get back to talking about this build. As you can see, I worked on the pantry of this place, and the pantry is one of my favorite areas of this house. I'm using all of those little jars that came with, what is that name of that pack? Outdoor Retreat. Came with that. It's in the debug section, all those little bottles. They're so cute, and they look so much like little bottles of ingredients to maybe make some potions or things like that. So I love the pantry. My first favorite area of this house is the attic. I can't wait for you to see the attic. It's kind of like the whole upstairs is an attic, but that she has kind of turned half of it into her bedroom, and then the other half is kind of hidden away behind a bookcase door, a hidden bookcase door. And it's where all the extra spooky stuff is, and her big cauldron. And yeah, I really like the design of it. I really like attic spaces in general. So I'm so excited for you to see that area. And here we are. We've moved on to the bedroom part of the attic. One thing I wish we could do in The Sims so much is have those angled walls. So if this is an attic space, it'd be so nice to have those angled walls that you see in attic spaces. And actually that's like my dream bedroom. So even when I was a little kid, I've always wanted an attic bedroom. So have all the little weird angles that you get when you have a bedroom up there. That it's so dreamy to me. I love it so much. If I could finish the attic in my own house, I would. Just to have, maybe that's where I would put my office. That would be the perfect space. I don't think my house is, I don't think the roof is tall enough to make a really good attic space, but I'd make it work just so that I could have one. Because like I said, I have always wanted one since I was a little kid. Even when I was a little kid, I've always had this kind of weird obsession with architecture of houses, and it's just so appealing to me to have that. I had a friend in school who had that kind of a bedroom. I was so jealous. And then my grandma, she had an upstairs attic room in her house that pretty much no one went in, so I was just like, I claim this room as my own. I loved it so much. I wanted to live in it. Just one day, it's my dream to have a house one day that has a screened-in porch and an attic room. If I could get both of those things in a house, I would be ecstatic. Both of those kinds of spaces just give me the feels. They give me like these just warm and cozy feelings, and I think that's why I like design so much, is because I like make my house into this warm, cozy feeling space. And yeah, that's just so important to me, and it's all about the feels. Oh, and a fireplace, of course. I mean, that's the ultimate thing in coziness, of course. Oh, and I am putting a fireplace in the basement of my house. It's like a gas fireplace. I'm so excited. I'm gonna have a fireplace eventually. As you can see, we have moved on to my absolute favorite area of this build, the kind of creepy attic area. And basically there's storage, of course, and then it's where she makes her potions, and I have that little setup in the middle of the room. I don't know what weird stuff she does in that area, but whatever you want, I guess. And that little rug chalk thing that I was talking about earlier, I love it so much. It's perfect. I have been wanting to use this in like a witchy type build. I don't even know. Didn't it come with City Living? I have a feeling it did, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think ever since I saw it when it came out, I was like, oh, this is cool. So I took the opportunity to finally do that. It looks kind of like something. It reminds me of Sleepy Hollow, the movie Sleepy Hollow, with Christina Ricci and Johnny Depp. And Christina Ricci is like drawing all those things with chalk under people's beds and stuff. I don't know if you've watched it, but do if you haven't. And it totally reminds me of that. I loved that movie growing up. And anyways, that's the kind of vibe that I was going for. And of course I get to use these awesome stained glass windows and the purple chair and all the little hints of purple everywhere. I just really like it. And I like the whole storage area, and there's just candles everywhere. And I love this little book stand where she can look up, I don't know, spells, recipes for potions, whatever. I just had a lot of fun with this area. Definitely my favorite. Oh, and if you noticed, she stacked a lot of her books and things on a coffin. So she's a weird one, Had to put a lot of this vampire pack stuff in here. I don't really use the vampires all that much, but the build stuff that came in that pack absolutely makes it worth it. I love that pack because of all of the cool things that came with it. And so yeah, if you want this pack or want this build, definitely will need the vampire pack, and then of course Realm of Magic for sure, and then probably Outdoor Retreat. And I use other packs in this build, but I think those are the really important ones. And if you do want this build, as always, I will upload it to the gallery, and my gallery ID is Roxxy Sims, the same as on here, except it does not have any space. And as always, make sure you have the Move Objects On sheet before you place this build, any of my builds, really, because if you don't, there will be probably lots of things missing. I use that sheet constantly. So it's very important to have that on beforehand. If you don't know what that is, it's BB period move objects space on. So if you just put in that sheet, you'll be good to go. Oh, I wanted your guys' opinion on what I should put in the other lot in this, because I do have the Glimmerbrook Cafe and then this one, and I also have another build planned for the other, like, kind of a commercial lot. It's going to be like a bar and, you know, like a pub. And the other lot, I'm not sure what I want to do. I was thinking I could either do like a good witch, you know, like a little happy good witch, or a more like a wizard. So I'm not sure which one I should do. If you have any opinion on that, please let me know in the comments, and then I'll figure that out, what I want to do for that. But as you can see, moved on to the landscaping. I cut out a lot of landscaping because a lot of it is just very repetitive. I use kind of the same plants throughout. So just a lot of purple flowers, a lot of like the dead trees and dead bushes and stuff, creeping thorns, you know, wanted to go a little creepy with it, but I still wanted it to have some flowers. And I don't know if you could tell, but I am building this in the fall. So I wanted it to be a little dark, and, you know, a lot of the flowers and stuff aren't quite as bright as they normally are. So, you know, I wanted to go for a little bit of a darker vibe with this. So I thought fall would be perfect. Winter, you know, it always seems to snow on me. So I got like to the beginning of fall and I went with that. And it also is like a cloudy day that I'm doing this in. So very overcast, very gray. I end up putting a little pumpkin patch in the backyard of this build, and I just love it. I love pumpkin patches so much. And if you noticed, I put some pumpkins kind of throughout the build. You know, pumpkins, witches, they just go together. I didn't go full on Halloween themed with it, but you know, pumpkins had to be involved somehow. In this pumpkin patch, I also did plant some of the plants that came in the Realm of Magic pack. So I know you need some of those plants to make potions and things, so I made sure to plant some of those in here as well. Also in this backyard, I decided to put a little bonfire area because I thought, you know, maybe she can do some little ritualistic dances around the fire or something, you know, just in case I put it in there. I really had a blast building this. A lot of the time, the things that I build, I try to make, you know, super realistic in every way. And so it's very nice sometimes to, like, you know, like I said, I'll a lot of time do like the zombie thing, and I like doing this. So it's very fun to do more of a fantasy type build every once in a while. Well, guys, we are pretty much done with this build. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. It really means the world to me. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I hope to talk to you all again very soon. Bye, everybody!